Welcome to Wil Talk with Artists. I think I know everybody. I think everybody knows me. I'm Joanne Vaughn. I'm the Executive Director at MFA. And our mission is to create meaningful connections in the community through art. So in normal circumstances, we would do this at Circle Gallery and in other locations where we host exhibitions, but times right now are very far from normal. So as an organization, we decided to lean into our mission and figure out how else can we create connections between artists and the community. We still have exhibitions. We still are exhibiting the best current art created by living artists on our website. But for now, we're trying a few new things, and we're learning a lot of new things, I will tell you. And so tonight, I welcome you to our inaugural session of Wil Talk with Artists. Wil Scott is an art historian and the former director, an art historian and photographer, and recently retired as the head of adult programs at the National Gallery. As such, Wil is probably uniquely qualified to bridge communication between the artist and the public. He's the internal vice president of Maryland Federation of Art, and either serves or has served on almost every art board in town, I think, including to stand as president of the Arts Council of Anne Arundel County. And tonight, as his first artist, Wil wanted to talk to assemblage artist Nicole Leavy, a classically trained sculptor and painter with a fine arts degree from Maryland Institute College of Art and art therapy classes from George Washington University. Nicole produces what she describes as whimsical whatnots, the unexpected one by reimagining the ordinary, which I thought was a great line.
Thank you.
So Wil and Nicole, welcome, and let's get started.
Okay, well, first, as the moderator, if you will, the interviewer, I just want to say thanks to Joanne and the board for giving me the opportunity to really be self-indulgent, because this is a great treat for me because I get to talk to people like Nicole, maybe more than I ever did before, and learn more about them as artists and their creative process. So let's jump right in. And one thing that I know I'm always curious about as a trained art historian, but most people seem to be curious about, is how and why did somebody become an artist? So Nicole, if you want to just quickly tell us a little bit about when you first began to think that this was something you wanted to do with your adult life, and how you got to the point of doing it so well.
Okay. Well, I was one of those kids that always knew I wanted to be an artist. I just didn't know what. So when I went to MICA, I did general fine arts as my major, so I could do everything and just sort of get a feel for all of the drawing, the photography, the painting, and figure out what it is I wanted to do. And while there, I had some amazing teachers who taught me about like symbolism, like not just the symbolism that you intend, but that comes through unintentionally, and how emotions can just sort of enter into your art without you even meaning to. And I kind of latched onto that, and I really wanted to do that. I was like, that's what I want to do. I want to do art therapy. So when I graduated there, I went to George Washington, as Joanne said, but all the jobs were being cut. So I pumped the brakes and decided I'm going to do murals and portraits, stuff like that. And after a while, I got restless again and decided I'm going to do what I want to do. And I'm going to make my assemblage work and just see what happens. So here we are, the great experiment.
Yeah. Well, that actually sounds like a kind of a conventional, if you will, path towards being an artist, but your art is really sort of unconventional. There's something about playful, and the kinds of things that you incorporate in the pieces that I've seen you do are not, well, I'm stopping myself because I don't want to go off onto an art historical tangent. But what I really wanted to ask you is, you went to MICA, you went to GW. Are you originally from around here? And do you think that has any kind of impact on your work as an artist?
Yeah, I am from around here. And I think being in Baltimore and around Baltimore did kind of feed that aesthetic of like a little bit of wacky, you know, it's a place that really embraces that sort of thing. And I like that. So yeah, being from Baltimore definitely feeds that wackiness.
Yeah. Well, when I see you sitting there with your in your studio or workroom, it too looks pretty well organized. It's not quite what I expected to see, because this is actually a piece of Nicole's that my wife and I proudly and happily own. And it doesn't show up too well on this little camera and then on your computer screens, but it's made up of, I guess the simplest way to say it is toys, small toys that she's assembled together. And so my question is, where do you find this stuff?
Well, I discovered toys. A lot of people ask if I have kids, and I don't, like thinking I must have kids to have all these toys around. But I discovered this recycling center that takes all of the donations from Goodwills all around the Chesapeake area into one centralized location, things that are rejected from there, either because they don't sell or they're broken. And it sells stuff by the pound. And I went there one day scavenging, because that's what I do. And I found there was just loads of these toys. And they were gorgeous, like this colorful, textured, wacky assemblage of stuff. And I was like, I don't know what I'm gonna do with this stuff, but I'm taking it. So, and one of the things that I used for your thing, I have some of the leftovers. Like, see these guys, these little wrestlers? I'm not sure if they're in focus or not, but they're so fun. And that's like the little hands I used. I still have a couple left over, but it's just, they're like, you know, they've been chewed up and stuff like that, but I can still use them. Other kids won't be able to use them anymore, but I can.
So is that the source for the majority of your recent work, or are there other places that you gather materials from?
It's mostly from there. I get a lot of books, toys, silver. I've recently started collecting silver for stuff. Yeah, and I add stuff with like polymer clay. If there's something that I need to sort of tie things together, I'll sculpt it myself. Or if it needs a background that doesn't seem to work with anything, I can paint it. You know, that's where my general fine arts comes into play.
Well, what you just said, and the way in which you get these materials from this Goodwill store or collection point, do your works evolve as you go along, or do you sort of start with some objects that you've put on your work table or something and think, I'm going to make X? Or is it really the transformative process of bringing these pieces of material and different colors and things together that creates the final piece?
It's both. Sometimes, like, I'll make, like, I decide I want to make a duck decoy. And so I'll gather all pieces together to like, what can I make that out of? But then other times I'm just like, I like this shape and I like this thing. And somehow they're going to go together. I just know they belong together. And then it just evolves. Or I change my mind halfway through and go, oh, this should happen. And yeah. So it just evolves.
Do you have anything handy that's sort of in the process of creation that you could show and talk to that point?
Well, I have this book of a cycling lexicon, bicycle head badges from a bygone era. And it was a cool little book. And I wanted to put a little bike on it. So I put a bike on it. Like, I sort of carved it out. Can you see that? I don't know if you can see that.
Yeah, yeah.
And I put a little motorcycle on there. And it's tied on there because I was like, well, I know I want that, but I don't know what else yet. So I'll just start there and I'll let it sit and I'll just leave it so I can look at it. And it'll tell me what it wants. Does that make sense?
Are there any other local artists or some of your teachers at MICA that headed you in this direction or give you inspiration or that you kind of, you know, exchange ideas with?
I really wish that I had stayed in touch with professors. It's been so long ago that like I can think of like Michael Economos. I can think of his name and it's embarrassing that I like forgot a lot of my teachers' names even because it was so long ago.
So long ago? You're very young, Nichole. So I can still remember my first grade teacher's name, which my wife
see, you're better than me.
Okay, so when you mentioned as an important point that you took away from all of your time at MICA that sort of was a general theme in the teaching there, which is that symbolism is not always completely intended by the artist, and that suggests that it's not always received clearly by the audience.
Right.
And Picasso was one who said that when he presented his art to the public, it was really up to the audience to find the meaning. He was not going to tell you, like a history painter, like a traditional painter of historical subjects. He wasn't going to tell you, this is what this is about. And that's part of the reason why he sometimes was so kind of squirrely when interviewers would ask him things. He would say things that were deliberately misleading. So that's my little art historical segue for this. But back to you, have you had the experience where somebody really is enthusiastic about one of your pieces and they start to tell you things that you think, I had no idea. I never even thought of that.
One that comes to mind, I'm not sure if it is what you're talking about exactly, but something that made me laugh was I had this piece that had an old violin that somebody handmade, and I turned it into a bird. I had like raven wings on it and stuff, and I named it Raven. And this person was looking at it and she was like, did you name it that because of Edgar Allan Poe? Because that looks like his head. the shape of the violin was like his head. And I was like, oh my God, that's awesome. But I didn't mean for that. Yeah. And a lot of things, like when I do the things with toys, you know, it's funny to watch people see it from a distance and go, oh, look, a heron, how lovely. And then come close and go, oh, yeah, there's things in there that I didn't expect, baby heads or like whatever. And then it gets a different reaction. And that's funny. That's fun.
Well, I think it's really interesting to me that you said that. And as a little aside, one of the things that I hope will be enjoyable for everybody about this series, that if we are able to continue it, is that, you know, I find that even though I'm active in the organization and other arts organizations, I don't get that many opportunities, believe it or not, to talk to another artist like I'm talking with Nichole and sort of hear her experiences, because I think that's not only fascinating in knowing more about her and her art, but it helps me reflect on my own practice as a photographer. So I hope if there are artists out there that are listening, I know there are some, that you enjoy that part too. I see a hand being raised, Joanne, and I'm open to interruptions or questions at any time.
Sure.
No, I was just fooling around.
Oh, okay. All right, we'll get to that in a minute then. Nichole, do you have any sort of new ideas that you've kept back and think you might start exploring soon? Basically, I'm saying, will there be changes in your work that you're kind of thinking about or planning going forward from now?
Well, like I said, I've been collecting silver because I wanted to paint on them and stuff, because I find a lot of silver at the Goodwill place that are just ruined. I'll show you something. Like, they're really nice, but they're just like, they're marred up and nobody's gonna want this. Yeah. So what I did was I got some cheapo things and I started painting on with alcohol inks and then putting resin on it. And it turns out it probably doesn't look like much on a camera, but it's really beautiful in person. As I got really excited about it. So then I started like adding assemblage with that and just combining all the things together. And I'm really excited by that. I'm gonna do a lot more of those.
Did you paint primarily at any point in your studies or after you got out of art school and got your, after you finished your formal education?
Yeah, I was painting murals and portraiture for a while. And yeah, sorry, I got distracted. I was painting portraits and murals for a while. And actually, that was something that came to some happy connections. I was able to do some magazine cover background things for Fairy Magazine, Enchanted Magazine. So I painted like the backdrops for the photography. So that was fun.
Do you still do it? Did you enjoy it?
Yeah, those were like recent. Those were after my mural days. And it was people who knew that I used to do it and said like, hey, you want to collaborate? And I was like, yeah, I want to collaborate.
You exhibit regularly at the MFA, as a lot of us do. Are there other places where you've been exhibiting, and do they provide a different kind of environment for your exhibitions?
Yeah, I'm at Gallery 564. That's in Severna Park. That's like a traditional gallery kind of space. I'm also at Local by Design, both at the mall and downtown. And that's been really interesting to see. Because I don't know, there's like, there's a preconception with the Annapolis people and the market there, you know? And I'm finding that they're very open and they're ready for some new stuff. Yeah. So yeah,
and 564 is definitely funky. I mean, I like the fact that it's not, you called it a traditional gallery space, and it is in the sense that there's somebody who selects artists and puts on shows, a gallerist, if current jargon for that, gallery owner. But his approach is not sailboats and wild waterfowl.
That's true.
And that I think that's kind of cool too. So is there anything particular about the MFA and our exhibitions that you find valuable, or is it just a convenient place that has a gallery and a lot of members?
No, the MFA is awesome because there's so many different shows, and if you can't find something that you can connect to, there's something wrong. I mean, there's so much there. And I've made so many connections with people that I never would have met otherwise. So many artists at the openings and things. It's just, I love the MFA. I mean, I sound like an infomercial. It probably sounds bad, but it's true. It's yeah.
Well, you do sound like an infomercial, but and we didn't plan this. I didn't talk about this with Joanne or with Nichole or anybody because I knew that Nichole, one of the things I like about Nichole is that she's a very authentic person, and I kind of had a feeling she might say something like that, so I took the chance. Is there anything that we haven't touched on? Because I think we've been talking for about 20 minutes or so so far. Yeah, that you want to say about your work that my questions and our conversation haven't brought out?
I don't know. I don't think so. I think that you asked the questions that most people ask. Yeah, I would just I would hope that people would just sort of check me out, see what's on my website once I get it sort of built up better.
So we do have one question from the which is, what kind of resin do you use, and does it yellow with age on the silver pieces?
Yeah, the ones that I was using for my experiments probably would, because I just used what I could find at Michael's. But there's, what's it called? Art something. Shoot, I can't think of it right now. But there's a kind that I will use on the real things that are guaranteed not to turn yellow. Yeah.
I have an art historical question.
Yeah.
Are there any of the sort of celebrity, canon of great artists that you are aware of that have influenced you at all in the way that you work or the materials you use?
Well, I mean, when I was in college, it wasn't just me. It was all about, Jasper Johns and Rauschenberg and all that, that was the time. That was like when everybody was, all us kids were into that. And now I think, I don't know. I feel like I'm doing my own thing. I'm trying not to emulate too much. I'm sure other people are doing what I'm doing to some, in one way or another. But yeah. Did that answer the question? Not
yeah,
really.
That was very much. And I'm kind of, that was a very selfish question, because as a photographer who studied in graduate school with somebody who was a leading international scholar on the history of photography, and especially photography in America, all of my friends and colleagues from that part of my life will look at my work very often and say, oh, you must have been thinking of.
Oh.
And I don't think of any of that when I'm taking photographs.
Right.
They say it, and then I think, oh, well, yeah, I get why they said it, but I didn't think of that. So I was just curious how that might affect your working process. Well, I think, I'd love to hear people's questions.
Okay, David?
I'm muted. Hang on. Whoops.
No, and you're unmuted. You're good.
Oh, I am now. Okay. Good enough. Okay. I had a question for Nichole, and I know she spoke of MICA and taking general art classes, and later on went into assemblage. So was there no one there at MICA that was teaching sculptural or assemblage pieces
Yeah.
while you're there that influence you're thinking, well, maybe tuck that in my head. I like that they're doing, but I don't feel like that now.
Yeah. Geez. Yeah, I was doing, a lot of my teachers did have that. When I in photography, we were doing a lot of multimedia and photography, and in sculpture class, like all the classes really were touching on multimedia. Mm-hmm. So kind of everybody. That doesn't answer your question, does it?
Well, it does, but I'm wondering then if that is the when everything you did, like when I went to school, I took painting, and you painted. So there wasn't a mix of stuff. Do you think that laid in your mind though, that, wow, it's all about mixing up the media?
Yeah, I think probably, yeah. Because mm-hmm. It's just sort of like, because everything gets mixed together, and everything that goes on the canvas or whatever that's part of it, whether you mean it or not. And just when you present something, just every angle of it, every bit of it, they'll treat as that was intentional. So I'm going to question it. And
your schooling did open you up to that then completely.
Oh, absolutely. Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. MICA was invaluable. MICA was awesome. It was expensive, but it was awesome.
Thank you for that. That was good.
Anybody else?
Can I just
go ahead?
Can I show you something while we have a bit of a lull? I have a project that I'm doing out in my front yard. I've got a Vardo, a gypsy wagon that I'm painting, and it's really cool. It's only here while I'm painting it, and I want to show it off. It's not done, but can I walk and show it to you?
Yeah, okay. I want you to. I didn't bring it up because I didn't think that you'd wanted to actually do this, but I'm glad you're willing to do it.
No, I wanna show it off because it's really cool. I really like it. So, okay, we're walking through my house. Sorry.
Yeah, Nicole mentioned that she was doing this when we talked about the program. And I got excited because a lot of the people that I see their faces or see their names and that I know you've traveled in Europe and you've seen gypsies, or maybe you watched Pinky Blinders, the British streaming series, and they were gypsies. The central characters were gypsies. And these wagons are just tremendous creations of a particular cultural tradition. So great. I'm glad that Nichole decided to bring this in.
Yeah, so that's it. And it's not nearly done. There's going to be a lot more elements to add. This molding lining up like all along the bottom.
Did they
It's
tell you
blank on the
what they
bottom right
wanted,
now.
or did they just tell you it was like a palette that you could, or a blank canvas, you could do what you wanted?
They told me that they want the palette of red and gold and green. I didn't add any green yet, obviously. But they wanted it sort of old worldy with vines and celestial elements. So I'm gonna put like a sun, like a half sun over over that. And over here, there's gonna be a green man on the door, a big green man face, and like sun and moon. And then I'll just see if it needs anything else. Well, just, I mean, with this quarantine going, you know, who knows how long it'll be here. I might just go crazy and just keep going and going. Who knows?
Did you do any research? Did you sort of look for at least visual examples of the wagons?
Sorry about that. Okay.
David, go ahead. David has.
Oh, okay. I didn't know if you were going to work with Wil's question.
Oh, sorry.
No, because I just thought I've seen a lot of them in Ireland and England a little bit too, but more in Ireland. Sometimes they refer to as travelers.
Yeah.
Yes.
And not always in a good way. But like, what were these people that you painting this for? Maybe I missed it, but what are they going to do with it?
Oh, yeah, the people that this is for, they're not travelers. The woman who owns that is the vending coordinator for the Virginia Renfest.
Oh.
So that's sort of her lifestyle thing.
Yes.
And she's not a vendor herself, but she just likes that kind of stuff. And so that's hers, and they're going to use it for camping and stuff. Yeah.
I like it. Was hers a kind of a vehicle that was, I couldn't see the front, that was pulled by a horse or driven?
It's like on a trailer, and it will hook to your truck or whatever.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah. They're very neat. And you're right. You should keep working on it because they are always over decorated.
Yeah.
That's right. Yeah, you're very restrained so far.
Yeah. Well, they didn't want it to be. That was one of the things, is that they were like, well, I don't want it to be too much. And so I was like, well, I don't know what that means. So they gave me a picture of like one that's very tasteful. But it's gonna be here a while, and I'm just probably gonna keep adding. But I keep giving them pictures, so I'm sure they'll approve whatever I do before I do it.
Are there any themes that sort of run through your work? Like you showed some of those figures that you had taken parts of in the piece that I have. Are there any things that reoccur repeatedly throughout your work?
I think my overarching theme is probably just like home things, toys, books, things that I'm getting a repeat over there, and it's really distracting me. Sorry. Yeah, it's all like homey stuff. It's all things, and I like to make houses with books, because you have that. Books are kind of like toys for adults. You know, they serve the same purpose. You know, they're the place that you explore and experiment and all that, but in a safe way, just like toys. And so I like to hollow out books and groups of books. I don't know if you can see that.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
But and make townhouses out of them that are overgrown inside. with flowers and plants and things like that because it's wild inside. And that's, yeah, I feel like all of my stuff sort of comes back around to a homey theme, like nostalgia.
Nostalgia.
Yeah.
You know, it's funny, not that I think I've seen large numbers of your pieces, but that really resonated with me. As soon as you said it, that resonated with me about the pieces of yours that I can visualize. Yeah.
Yeah. I think one of the things that I like watching when people see my work is when they recognize a toy that they had when they were a kid or something like that. There's an instant connection that you can't predict, but it's strong and it's there because there's this little, it's very specific time in your life that you have this little thing, and it's really meaningful for a really short time. And then it's,
if I can add something in there, I think I bought a piece of Nicole's in December. I have 7 grandchildren, and I give each of my grandchildren a piece of art at Christmas. And so my granddaughter that just turned 4 got a piece of yours for Christmas. And the thing that I find interesting about exhibiting your work in the gallery is it's insanely relatable. You know, people can look at a painting and they can feel something, or they can look at an abstract, they can look at this, but it's almost like you're communicating directly because it's extremely approachable to those of us that don't have an art background. So I think that's really unique. And then the other thing that I love about having work like this, or like what Angela does in the gallery, is that when kids come in, not necessarily young kids, but they're not taught that art has to be painting and drawing, that they can express themselves artistically in ways other than painting and drawing. And that has a real value in a community that is talking about how do you use art as expression and how does it form a conversation in the community.
I love that. That's awesome. That's
Okay,
great.
well, I think we've kind of run through our prepared questions, and it really is the time to see if the listeners want to ask anything, or maybe we should call it a wrap.
Well, I have something I would like to add, if that's okay. Can you, wait,
Yeah.
can you see this?
I can, well, now.
Oh, wait, it's doing weird stuff. Let me get rid of this virtual background.
I thought you were the weather girl.
All right, now can
Yeah.
you try and light it? So,
Oh, hey, I recognize that.
yeah, I mean, I just love this. Shoot, it went off.
Yay!
I saw it, and as you said, I instantly related to it. I'm trying to light it with my cell phone. There's this little, it's a series of Shakespeare books, and there's a little peekaboo hole here, and then there's this big hole in the center, and she's put a little chair and a table. It's adorable. And I really loved it. And I like the way you did the back page.
Thank
So
you.
anyway, thank you for making this. I love it.
Oh, I'm so glad. That's awesome. I love that. That's great.
It's really cool.
All the things in that, you probably know because you're looking at it, but all of the things that I made, the furniture and all the little art for the little fairy that lives there, all came from those books. What I cut out is all just repurposed inside in one way or another. So I don't know.
Yeah, it's
fun.
Really the details.
I love those.
Amazing.
I love them.
There's a second little book on the table in there. That's pretty cool.
Kind of like a Joseph Cornell.
So what do you do with the inside pages?
Those will get used one way or another.
I figured they would.
Yeah, everything I save everything and everything gets used somehow. Yeah.
There's a request to see if you have any more works that are in progress you can show us.
Yeah, I can turn the camera around and give you a little tour around. Let's see. Sorry about that. Okay. So I've got, oh, I can't see. Oh, shoot. Sorry.
We can see.
Okay.
I can see
So
what,
yeah, these are things I'm sort of piecing together. These are the kinds of things that are just sort of like, just making a little picture, what, you know. And then this is all my stuff. There's a clock in progress, and here's another fairy book. And you can see, I don't know how well you can see inside. But
oh, wow, yeah.
Wow, that's really
but
great.
it's a little,
Yeah,
he's got a little
very-
room in there. And I have two old radios that I want to do something with. I don't know what. I gutted them. I gotta do something. A lot of things I just have out. This is my like more worky place. So that's like for cutting things and all that. And see, a lot of things I just put them up as ideas, and then I just think about it. Like there's something there, but I don't know what. And then because assemblage work is so hard to store, like you can't just stack it like paintings, you have to hang everything. So like I have everywhere stuff is hung up, including empty frames that I want to do something with. And up all my walls. I got one of those gallery system things. So like there's just lots and lots of artwork everywhere.
Now, I have a question that might be a little personal, and I understand if you don't want to answer it. Can you give me any hints on how you get your spouse to accept that?
He's a saint.
Well, good. He must be, because you
That's all
can
I can
see
say.
what's behind me. Those are my photographs. And I have to periodically straighten them and rehang them.
Yeah.
They be too haphazard.
Right. Oh, let me show you this. I got this at the Goodwill. This is a organ. I don't know if you can see it. It's kind of dark in here. But I'm going to turn that into a bar. It's this cool old, look at it. Look how cool it is. So I'm going to turn that into a bar, I think.
So it doesn't work and you don't play it. Nobody in your house plays it. You're going to.
It doesn't work.
Wow.
Yeah, it doesn't work anymore. It's that's why I got it at the recycling center for $10.
Is that the first thing that you would have done that's that large?
No, I've refinished furniture and stuff before. But let's see. Yeah, no, I mean, that's big stuff's not a problem.
Right. That's fascinating. Well,
We have another question. How did you come by the opportunity to paint the wagon?
Oh, that was an artist friend is a friend of the Vardo owner, and he just recommended me. Sorry about my dog barking. Yeah, so she called me. She knew me from the fairy magazine stuff too, the Enchanted Living magazine stuff. So she kind of like recognized me from that too. So I was in.
great. Okay, well, I've kind of run out of my prepared questions, and so I leave it up to everyone else if they want to continue to ask Nichole questions.
I'm trying to think if there's anything else. Sorry.
I just typed one.
Yeah, how do you cut out the center of the books?
Yeah.
Oh, with that scroll saw that was down there, that big saw on my workbench. I've learned the hard way to like take the book apart and then cut it, because I was just cutting it like all together with the spine attached and everything, and it was terrible. But that right there, I use that. And then I carve them with a Dremel tool, which I'm sure everybody knows what a Dremel tool is, but I got Dremel tool. Oh, these are cool for taking apart those McDonald's toys and everything that you can't possibly take apart because they have like triangular screws. That's a thing.
When you say you take the books apart before you cut them, you mean you take
Oh.
the folios out of the covers and separate
Yes.
the folios?
Like this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, and I staple it, or not staple it, I brad nail it together. Can you see?
Oh, okay.
So how
So
is your studio so clean? Did you clean it up just for us?
Yeah, well, the sawdust from that gets everywhere. So yeah, I do have to. But I've got, look how, see, Kevin made my studio so organized. I've got my vacuum right under there. But I brad this together and then glue the edges together. So, because otherwise it gets too floppy and you can't really work with it. But that's how you do that. That's my secret.
So how much time goes into a piece like the Shakespeare book that Sarah showed?
Let's see. It's hard. It's kind of hard to say. I've tried so many times to like set a timer and work. Like I've used my Fitbit, like set a timer. I'm starting to work and then pause it when I'm done and all that. And I can never stick to it. I don't know. So I literally don't know.
Uh-huh. Yeah, I'm
I
just
literally
curious
don't know.
because you have all of this, these tools and materials that you have to work with. Sometimes I think about it as a photographer, how much of my time is really being creative and how much of it is just sort of the grunt work, if you will, that goes into creating a work of art. And for me, I can kind of separate it easily. And that's why I was thinking, how do you separate time when you think you're being creative and just doing what you have to do to realize that creativity? Maybe that's not an important.
It's an MFA artist talk.
Right.
I think it's wrapping up soon.
It's like
Dinner around 6:30, I think.
a lot of
I have to
times I
let
work on
that
several
Nichole.
things at one time, as you can see. I just have things like ready,
But we're not
and
gonna
then
even.
I'll pass it up and go, oh, I should do that, and then I'll just drop whatever I'm doing otherwise and do that thing for a while. And so I look organized, but I don't work, like I try to be organized, but I don't work that organized. Like I don't start something from start to finish.
Okay.
Yeah.
Another question. What's your biggest challenge right now? Making art or selling art?
Selling. Yeah. Making it is that's just pure joy. That's easy. I have so many ideas and I have so much stuff, and I like, even with not being able to go out to shop for supplies, I'm fine. I'm like living it up. Yeah, selling is always, it's not my personality to like sell myself and all that. And I don't do social media very well. So I just sort of make it and, I'm working on it.
That sounds familiar.
I think a lot of us have that issue.
Yeah.
Can I ask something?
Yeah.
Am I on or not?
You're on, Maurice. Go for it.
Yeah.
Okay. What do you do when you run out of all that wall space? If I could show you what the hell I have in my basement, it's unbelievable. Art is my second stuff, but I've been doing it for 30 years, and the stuff really accumulates, and I'm not selling worth a damn. Anyway, I came in on this just because I happened to see this going on. I was going through my emails, and that's how I happened to pop in. Okay, that's all.
Well, glad you did.
For stopping in.
Do you photograph your stuff? How do you keep a record of what you do?
That's something I need to be better at too, because sometimes I get so excited and I make a thing, and then I take, like, especially if I've got like a fair or something coming up, and I just take it and I'm just so excited, let's just take all the stuff, and I forget to take pictures of it. I have several things that I've sold and it's gone forever, and I never took a picture of it. And it's not good. Kevin's always, my husband Kevin is always berating me about that. Like, you gotta take pictures. Are you taking pictures?
Yeah, think of all of those art history graduate students. You have to provide them with documentation.
Right. Exactly right.
Well, thank you, Nicole and Wil and everybody for tuning in. I think it's been a wonderful launch. Well, I thank you all for joining us. Like I said, we're trying a lot of new ways to live that mission, to create the connection between the community and the artists. I can't tell for sure because people kept coming and going, but I think we got up to about 35 people, which I think
Wow.
the session is really tremendous. And I think most people here are members of MFA or have been. I'm not sure everybody is a current member, but we thank you for your support. And I obviously would be remiss if I didn't remind everybody that it's Giving Tuesday. And you can go to the MFA website and make a gift if you're so inclined. We're not pushing it heavily right now. We think that what we want to do right now is look at ways that we can engage with our audiences, that we can keep art relevant and in front of the community so that they remember its importance. And that we also remind people that a lot of this art that we can share with the community is local. It's really fun to be able to go on, the internet and pop into the Louvre or pop into the Tate or go somewhere else. But it's really special to be invited into an artist's home. And so, Nicole, thank you very, very much. And Wil,
Thank you. This was so fun.
Yeah,
this
and
was
thank
great.
you for my book.
Okay.
Well, thanks for letting me be a part. I really had a great time, and I feel really privileged to have been here. So thank you.
Thanks for being our guinea pig.
Yeah, exactly. All right. Thanks, everybody, for listening in. Be safe.
Okay.
Be creative.
Bye. Thanks.